welcome to English to Experience. I'm ETETutor and this is the second video for GCSE English Language Paper 1 for WJEC Eduqas, where we're looking at the poetry anthology question. So we've got Valentine here in front of us. Last time what we did was went through the poet's profile, so learning just a little bit about her that should help us to be able to understand the context of the poem, which is one of the things you're being assessed on. So if you haven't seen that one already, go back, watch it through if you can. I'd suggest if you're running out of time, increase the playback speed. I know this time of year there's a lot going on, and if you are preparing for 2019, you're probably very busy. So have a go listening to it that way and you'll get more out of this video. So our question, which we went through in the last video, is about the reality of love. So that's our question focus here. So we're going to think about this poem and we're going to try, as we're doing it, to analyse these 3 bullet points and use our highlighters to check that we're covering them. So we've got a little bit of a colour code there, and we know that they relate to the assessment objectives, which is what your examiner is going to be constantly referring to. That's what they're marking you on, your ability to be able to do these things. What we're going to do is work our way systematically through the poem, just assessing these bullet points as we go and making sure that you're clear on everything you need to know about the poem. So, Valentine, Carol Ann Duffy. So straight away, through the title, it's pretty obvious we're thinking that it's going to be a love poem. So what do we normally associate love poems with in terms of form? Now remember, form is the type of poem it is. So a limerick, a ballad, a sonnet. So is this one a sonnet? A sonnet that we'd ordinarily associate with love? No, it isn't. So that's the first significant thing we're seeing. What it actually is free verse. So that's how you can describe the form. So we will jot that down here. Free verse. Not typical form for a love poem. So maybe we're thinking now, could Carol Ann Duffy be presenting an alternative view of love? What is her perspective? Why did that perspective make her choose free verse? So hopefully that will become clear as we go. So a good tip for all of these ones is to mention the title and any preconceptions we have, any connotations between what the title is and what form we'll expect and everything else we'll expect, really. So does our first line relate back to that? Yeah. Not a red rose or a satin heart. So I'm going to go for green to underline these 2 words because I feel that's most closely related to how the writer's creating effects. What she's done here is referenced symbols traditionally associated with love. But we're not going to get them. So just like we didn't get the sonnet, we're not getting these things that have connotations of love and romance and Valentine's Day, really. So what we're going to get instead? Well, we know she wants it to be dramatic because stanza 1 is what we can describe as a stand alone, 1 line stanza. Again, that's going to create emphasis, isn't it, in terms of the effect it's going to have. It makes us want to know what this Valentine's is going to actually involve. So now we're starting to cover structure. So we can get some pink on here because we've got this comment here about how it's standalone. We can also, at this point early on, recognise the fact that there's no organised rhyme scheme. So again, that's something that you could add in. Very early days to be thinking about the tone at this point, but hopefully by looking at stanza 2 we can make a comment on the tone, and that relates to this content and structure as well. It relates to the content and the writer's points of view as well, so it's no exact science, but let's have a go. I give you an onion. It is a moon wrapped in brown paper. It promises light, like the careful undressing of love. So initially we're getting that surprise, aren't we? We're getting this unusual idea of an onion being a Valentine's gift. Not only is it an onion, it's wrapped in brown paper. So the very everyday items. And they're, again, very different from what we traditionally associate with love. So again, we're thinking this is an unusual poem with a slightly different perspective. That being said though, although it is a matter of fact in tone and language, it's still positive. So love here is seen as a positive thing. It promises light and it's like the moon. So we're getting a lot of light imagery here. So if we've got light imagery, we're thinking of the moon, the fact that it's this promise of light. Light has connotations with things being positive, so it's all linking together. And we can see that this onion is being protected, it's being wrapped, it's safe. Again, it's saying that it's enduring, it will last, and love should last. So love is something very special, hidden in something very ordinary. So let's go on to stanza 3. Here, note we've got a one word line there, so again it's going to be something that's considered to be very significant. It will blind you with tears like a lover. It will make your reflection a wobbling photo of grief. So we've got some significant words here. So blind, in stanza 2 we were thinking about light imagery. Now it's dark, now it's darkness, and we've got this wobbling photo of grief. So we can see there's a change in terms of the tone here. So we'll just pop down that it goes from positive through to negative, really. And we've also gone from light to dark. The fact that we're noticing the imagery here is going to cover our subject terminology as well, and we're considering the content and structure by thinking about the fact that we've got these short sentences Again, everything else is the same. The lack of rhyme that we'd associate maybe with more upbeat love poetry, the fact that it's not the sonnet like we said. And then in stanza 4 we get I am trying to be truthful. And I would think about structure here. So she's having to reinforce her overall view, and I think that this is like the key point. She's trying to be really authentic and tell the truth, and we get this structurally as a reminder or an explanation, really. So if you imagine her poor lover, because we know that she is writing in the first person and she's writing for an individual person as well. So we're thinking her lover's probably not going to be that impressed, that clear on what's going on at this point. So she's explaining herself. And then again, we get more of this semantic field of traditional love that we saw in stanza 1. So it's building. So if you use a phrase like that, it's building throughout the poem. That's going to help you with your structural point. And then we get the line again, I give you an onion. Oh, I forgot to put stanza 5. I like to do this because it makes it easier when you're writing it up, so you can quickly go in stanza 3, stanza 4, you see it at a glance, but that could just be me. We get here the refrain of I give you an onion, so we saw it back up here. So again, it's her need to persuade and to emphasize this point, and this is how she feels. Its fierce kiss will stay on your lips. So we get here, what with fierce kiss is sort of an unusual combination of thoughts and ideas. It could be described as being oxymoronic, because it brings together these two sort of disparate ideas, and the romantic kiss with it being fierce, possessive and faithful. So those negative words are building again, as we are for as long as we are. So here it's not getting that enduring sense anymore. There's a sense that love might not last forever. So, at that point where she's starting to think about love not lasting forever, we bring in another idea, another issue that relates to traditional love, and that is this idea of marriage. So we get take it, again, another short sentence, short line. And this time it's an imperative, so it's where you're saying you've got to do something. And what you've got to do is just get married, really, according to this. Its platinum loops shrink to a wedding ring. So if you think about the rings on an onion, we can see that they could and they would have to shrink an awful lot to become a wedding ring, and that word shrink is quite oppressive. And one of the key things that Duffy explored throughout a lot of her poetry was this idea of oppression and how different people were oppressed. So you can kind of see that coming through in the significance of that word shrink. If you like, so if you want to, that's something you can do, but we're going to come back to that when we're thinking about context. This is another interesting point there. And then we get lethal, that one word like we had here. So word that we associate with death, violence, a little bit like that shrinking idea, the possessive, the fierce. So we've got this kind of semantic field of entrapment, peril, something bad is going to happen. Its scent will cling to your fingers, cling to your knife. So again, if we're thinking structurally and in terms of tone, she leaves us with this idea of risk, possible warning that love isn't all it's cracked up to be. So, now we've gone through and got a few annotations on here. We could have added more in because we'd definitely be mentioning the structure in terms of that end part, the point where we've said about oppressiveness and this idea of love being risk and warning. All of these bits are to do with our understanding of the poem, so the content. So we're thinking she's rejecting traditional love, even though love, that means that love might hurt you if you go into it being honest and truthful and recognising that it's not all these flippant things. And then we see the fact that it amps up even more, that if you make that commitment, it could end unhappily for you. So quite a negative poem in many respects. What we can see is that we don't have much blue. Well, we don't have any blue because we haven't yet really thought about the context of the poem. Because it's taken quite a while, what I'm going to do is stop for now and just go on to that in the next video. Alright then, thanks for watching. I really hope it's helped. Bye for now.